truthful by members of his own party. Also tonight, the president now revealing whether he himself authorized that mission that turned deadly in Niger. Also tonight, breaking news in the Las Vegas massacre, what we have just learned about the gunman. Major changes when it comes to security and boarding airplanes landing in the U.S. We are also following the takedown today in an American airport. The young mother and wife who claimed she was kidnapped while jogging, saying she was abducted and held solely by two women. But tonight, what police are now saying, and the alleged text messages to a man other than her husband. The officers who heard the call and the 85-year-old man who needed help after Hurricane Irma, and then what the video shows one of the officers doing. And tonight, we celebrate a great.
Found my thrill.
The pioneer inspiring Elvis, the Beatles, and generations that followed.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Wednesday night, and we begin with President Trump tonight responding after coming under searing attack from two senators in his own party. The president was asked if he accepts any blame about the civility or lack thereof in politics and in Washington right now, how he answers that. And the president tweeting repeatedly about a standing ovation he received from Republican senators as proof they are not fractured. Here's ABC senior White House correspondent Cecilia Vega leading us off.
At the White House today, with his character under fire from fellow Republicans, President Trump brushed aside questions about whether it's time for him to be more civil.
Well, I think the press makes me more uncivil than I am. You know, people don't understand. I went to an Ivy League college. I was a nice student. I did very well. I'm a very intelligent person.
It comes in the wake of blistering attacks from two prominent Republican senators who are not running for re-election. Tennessee's Bob Corker accuses President Trump of debasing the country, and Arizona's Jeff Flake delivered this scathing rebuke on the Senate floor.
Reckless, outrageous, and undignified behavior has become excused and countenanced as telling it like it is.
President, Republicans say that politics in this country is in the gutter right now. Do you agree with that? Do you bear any responsibility for that?
I think it's sad, but I think to a large extent, in all due respect, I think the media causes a lot of it. But politics is a rough business. There's no question about it.
The president's message, everything is just fine. His party loves him. His proof? The standing ovation he received from Republican senators on Capitol Hill. He's now tweeted about it 3 times.
With Corker and Flake out, are there any other Republicans you want to see out of the Senate?
No, not at all.
Everybody in there is where they should be.
No. We have a very good relationship. Honestly, the Republicans are very, very well united.
Now he especially needs them to be united on tax reform. But his mixed messages on how to pay for those tax cuts frustrate even his own allies. The president has said definitively there will be no changes to your 401k. But today, the top Republican writing the tax plan said actually there could be changes, including limits on how much people can contribute to that retirement fund. When asked about that, the president said this.
401ks to me are very important. And they're important because that's one of the great benefits to the middle class.
But then just seconds later, a muddied message.
Well, maybe it is, and maybe we'll use it as negotiating, but I trust me.
So let's get to Cecilia Vega with us live tonight from the White House. And Cecilia, the president also spoke today about that ambush that killed 4 American Special Ops soldiers in Niger, saying for the first time that he did not specifically authorize their mission himself. And Cecilia, you asked the president about his phone call with the widow of one of those soldiers, Sergeant LaDavid Johnson. That widow saying the president didn't seem to know her husband's name. But the president strongly denied that. Here's how he answered it.
I respect her. I respect her family. I certainly respect LaDavid, who I, by the way, called LaDavid right from the beginning. Just so you understand, they put a chart in front, LaDavid. It says LaDavid Johnson. So I called right from the beginning. There's no hesitation. One of the great memories of all time. There was no hesitation.
Great memories, talking about the chart in front of him. Cecilia, the president seeming to question the widow's account.
He is, David, and Sergeant Johnson's wife said the president's phone call made her cry even more. But you heard him there. He's continuing to refute her account of this story. Today, he said that, quote, all of these calls are about warmth and that nobody has more respect for these families than he does. David.
Cecilia Vega leading us off from the White House. Cecilia, thank you. We turn next here to that controversial dossier prepared as opposition research on then candidate Donald Trump, alleging connections between the Trump campaign and Russia. It's believed that firm was first hired by a Republican opponent, and then the Hillary Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee funded it from there. So tonight we now know who funded it, but some lawmakers say the bigger question remains, how much of it is true? Here's ABC's chief investigative correspondent Brian Ross.
Until now, Hillary Clinton and her campaign team would not admit any connection to the Trump dossier. The 35-page document, prepared by a former British spy, alleges the Trump campaign colluded with the Russians and includes uncorroborated, salacious allegations about Trump himself. It didn't come out until well after the campaign ended.
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen.
The dossier on Trump was produced by a Washington-based firm called Fusion GPS, which had actually started digging up dirt on Trump for an unknown Republican during the primaries. After several Republican candidates dropped out, the Clinton campaign and the Democrats secretly paid Fusion GPS to continue their research efforts. The president today said he was a victim.
I think it's a disgrace.
Former Clinton campaign spokesperson Brian Fallon said the Democrats did nothing wrong.
I think it's important to remember that opposition research happens all the time in campaigns.
In fact, it's standard practice in campaigns for both parties.
I think it's important to know who paid for this dossier. What is more important than anything is whether the allegations in the dossier are true.
And now one question is, which Republican first started Fusion GPS down the road of digging up dirt on Trump?
Do you know who those Republicans are? Do you have any idea?
I think I would have, if I were to guess, I have one name in mind.
Give it to us.
It'll probably be revealed.
Wasn't really willing to reveal it himself there. Brian Ross with us tonight, and we know that Hillary Clinton, the campaign, and the DNC helped fund this, but the question that remains tonight is which Republican opponent in that primary helped fund it too.
Right, David. The Democrats say the firm first approached them in early March last year, which was just after several Republican candidates had dropped out of the race, and their supporters are now the prime suspect, David.
Brian Ross with us again tonight. Thanks, Brian. We turn next here to new developments in the investigation of the massacre in Las Vegas. Tonight, ABC News has learned what the gunman did to hide his tracks on his computer. And what, if anything, do authorities know tonight about his motive now a month later? Here's ABC senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas tonight.
Tonight, ABC News has learned exclusively that the hard drive is missing from the laptop computer found in Stephen Paddock's sniper's lair at the Mandalay Bay Hotel. Some authorities suspect that Paddock destroyed or intentionally hid the hard drive to keep law enforcement from information that may have told them why he killed 58 people and wounded hundreds more.
He would want to erase his digital history so nobody could ever figure out how and why he did what he did.
And ABC News has also learned that Paddock bought software to erase his hard drive, more evidence of his meticulous planning. The FBI and Las Vegas police continue to interview witnesses and run down leads from across the country, but have been frustrated by the lack of evidence pointing to a motive.
We have found no signs of ideology or affiliation to any groups.
And today, another disturbing twist. Stephen Paddock's brother Bruce arrested and charged with possessing child pornography in a separate investigation that began well before the Las Vegas massacre.
And Pierre Thomas with us live tonight from Washington. And Pierre, almost a month now after this massacre, and authorities still have little idea what motivated him.
David, authorities have interviewed hundreds of associates, friends, and family, but they don't seem any closer to finding a clear motive. David.
Pierre Thomas with us again tonight. Thank you, Pierre. And we turn next year to gripping testimony in the military trial of Army Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl. You'll remember seeing Bergdahl squinting in the sun after being freed by the Taliban, after being kept in a cage. Tonight, perhaps the story you haven't heard from a former Navy SEAL who went looking for Bergdahl and what happened to him. Here's ABC's Steve Osunsami.
The military judge about to decide how Bowe Bergdahl should be punished is hearing tonight from service members who say they risked their lives trying to rescue Bergdahl from the Taliban after he deserted his platoon in 2009. Retired Navy SEAL James Hatch, seen here walking into court, suffered career-ending injuries during one of those efforts and cried on the witness stand, telling the judge in North Carolina today that everyone on that mission was aware that he walked off. Hatch explained how he was shot in the leg and how a service dog was killed, a story he shared with CNN.
I was laying there. Initially, I thought, man, I'm dead because I'm so close and I can't move.
In the end, Bergdahl's face finally saw the sunshine of freedom after a prisoner swap in 2014. In his first television interview with British filmmaker Sean Langan, Bergdahl explains how he was being tortured and was held in a small cage for years.
It's a cage that was welded together. It's about 7 foot long by about 6 foot wide.
My name is Bo Bergdahl.
Bergdahl says he walked off base to report on an issue with a superior. Donald Trump on the campaign trail attacked him repeatedly.
He's a traitor, a no-good traitor, who should have been executed.
And Steve is with us now. Steve, the defense is now using those words you just heard from President Trump to try to argue that Bergdahl can't get a fair trial now in a military court?
They are, but the judge in this case, David, says that not to worry. He can certainly render a fair decision in this case. If he decides to throw the book at this young man, Bergdahl could spend the rest of his life in a military prison. David?
Steve Osunsami with us tonight. Thank you, Steve. Next, passengers on all flights to the U.S. are about to face tougher security before they board. In fact, some airlines will begin interviewing passengers as early as tomorrow. Here's ABC senior transportation correspondent David Curley tonight.
Tomorrow's deadline means Americans flying home from international airports could face new security interviews. Every day, 325,000 passengers board 2,100 direct flights to the U.S. from 280 airports. This is part of the enhanced security ordered by then Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly.
Unless we all raise our security standards, terrorists who see commercial aviation as the greatest takedown will find and attack the weakest link.
Every airline must meet these new security mandates, but the U.S. is not telling those airlines how to do it. Many carriers, though, have decided to conduct these short security interviews, which could be as simple as, where are you traveling? Who packed your bag?
And I think that's a very good thing at some of these locations. I think it's going to be very seamless. The airlines are accustomed to this type of thing.
David Curley with us live tonight. And David, the bottom line here for people watching, for Americans flying back here to the U.S., how many can expect to be interviewed?
It's a good chance that they all could, depending on what the airlines decide to do, David. But if you've flown domestically recently, you've been engaged in these simple security questions. Has the bag left your possession? It's the Israeli model. Airline workers looking for anybody nervous or uncomfortable. David?
David Curley with us tonight. David, thank you. From Louisiana this evening, the search for a suspect in a double homicide at Grambling State University. Police say the incident began with an argument in a dorm that spilled outside. One of the victims was a Grambling senior, the other his friend from home. The suspect is someone they knew. Tonight, the university is stepping up security, but holding classes and other events this homecoming week. Next this evening, a mysterious abduction right back in the headlines tonight. Sherry Papini, the California wife and mother, who says she disappeared while jogging, found 3 weeks later on Thanksgiving Day, tied up alongside a highway. Well, tonight here, for the first time, her husband's first call for help, the wife's text messages, who was she texting, and FBI sketches of 2 women wanted for questioning. Here's ABC senior national correspondent Matt Gutman.
Tonight, for the first time, we're hearing the 911 call Keith Papini made to report his wife missing.
I just got home from work, and my wife wasn't there.
The question of who abducted the young mother is one law enforcement is still grappling with nearly a year after her disappearance.
I found her phone, and it's got like hair ripped out of it in the headphones. So I'm like totally freaking out, thinking somebody grabbed her.
Today, the sheriff's office releasing new sketches of the 2 Hispanic women Sherry Papini says abducted her while she was out running. Keith Papini telling me about the moment he first saw her again.
One of the officers kind of like braced me and kind of put his arm around me, and he said, prepare yourself. They branded her.
The sheriff's office also revealing today that Papini was texting with a male acquaintance from Michigan just days prior to her disappearance in an attempt to meet. That man was later cleared. David, law enforcement is concerned about possible inconsistencies in Sherry Papini's story. She has claimed that she was abducted and held solely by the women that you saw in those sketches, but police say that they found DNA of a female and a man on her clothes and her shackles. David.
More questions to come. Matt Gutman, our thanks to you. There is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Wednesday. The sheriff's deputy facing charges tonight. You will see the home surveillance right here. The officers had heard a call after an 85-year-old man needed help after Hurricane Irma